Well, good evening. It's a pleasure to call this meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for the City of Natchez to order. At this time, I would like to ask you to please stand for the prayer. And we're blessed to have with us this evening Reverend Roderick Lewis of New Beginnings Missionary Baptist Church. And Pastor Lewis, thank you for being here. If you would lead us in prayer, and then we'll follow that with our pledge.
We bow heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening with thanksgiving in our hearts, gratitude in our hearts for your goodness, your kindness, your tender loving care. Father, you instructed us in the word when we pray to ask our Father. That means you're not just my Father, but you're all of our Father. And we ask you today that you would be in the midst of this. Let your will be done. Let your kingdom come. Principles of your kingdom that are principles of our heart. Let them be demonstrated in this setting today. We thank you for the city of Natchez, for all of its leadership, and we pray your blessings upon each and every one. It's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Let us now repeat together our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. We'll ask the clerk to administer the roll call.
Alderwoman Hall.
Here.
Alderman Frazier.
Here.
Alderwoman Smith. Alderwoman Irvin.
Here.
Alderman Davis.
Here.
And Alderman Maroney.
Happy to be here.
Everyone is here except for Alderwoman Smith, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Well, this evening we are so grateful to have everyone present. We have a lot of good things to discuss this evening. Our first order of business will be approval of minutes. Madam Clerk?
Yes, we ask for approval of the regular board meeting Tuesday, August the 22nd, pending attorney's approval.
Second. Motion made by Alderwoman Hall, seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
there was
Alderwoman
one
Hall.
correction on my report. The contributions released, the tourism report put out by the National Park Service for the local economy to Natchez North for tourism was $5,284,000, not $5,200.
Okay. Oh, yes. All right. Thank you. Any further discussion? We'll call for the question. The question has been called. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item, we do have under city business, Natchez Housing Authority, reappointing Barbara Crenshaw, who has been serving in that capacity and has been recommended for reappointment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Davis, seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Discussion?
No, I was actually gonna have that in my report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Well, we'll call for the question then.
Call.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. We now are at our public hearing, and this is a motion that we'll need to recess for just a moment our regular meeting and go into a public hearing on adjudicated properties.
Second.
Motion made by Alderwoman Hall, seconded by Alderman Davis. Any discussion? We'll call for the question.
Call.
All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. We are now in a public hearing, and the public hearing is for the purpose of considering various nuisance properties that are before us this evening for adjudication. We have with us our code enforcement officer, Officer Roderick Grover. Officer Grover, I'm going to recognize you at this time.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderwoman.
if anyone needs to go to just see what's on our report, ask them to please sign their names on the sheet of paper that's here.
Certainly will,
And the
certainly
address.
will.
Name and address.
Officer Grover will make his report, and then we will recognize anyone who is here whose property may be on the list. And at that time, each person who would like will have an opportunity to address the board. But in so doing, you'll need to come to the podium and sign in your name and address for our records. Officer Grover, you're recognized.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Today, public hearing to adjudicate nuisance lots pursuant to the Mississippi Code of 1972. Legal notice for public hearing was posted and sent on or before September 11, 2023. Public hearing is being held September 26, 2023 at special call meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen. Staff is requesting a motion that all documentation provided to the city clerk be added to the minutes.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Alderwoman Hall,
Second.
second by Alderwoman Irving. Discussion? We'll call for the question.
Call.
We'll proceed now to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Now I will ask if anyone would like to speak this evening regarding a property that is on our adjudication list. We're not going to go through every property. Everyone's been given notice, but if there is a particular property owner that wishes to address the board, you're now invited to do so. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please sign in and state your name and the address of the property.
Okay. That one's on it, right? This one. Okay.
Do you need another pen?
Oh, done. Sorry.
All right.
Okay, so my name is Sophia McGriggs. The property is 634 Maple Street. And I don't know, I've been getting the runaround as far as the property itself. At first, a different code enforcement officer told us that everything was fine. So we've just bought the house. We're working on trying to get it done, but we were told we have to hire a contractor to get it done. At this point, I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't feel like it should be on the list as of right now.
Okay. When did y'all purchase that home?
I want to say September maybe of last year. Like it's been
A year
a
ago?
year now.
A year ago. Okay. And has any work been done on the property since you purchased it?
Just removal of branches and trees and boarding up. Mr. Baldwin told us to just board up the house and just keep the lawn done.
All right. Any discussion, any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderwoman
Officer
Hall.
Grover is our code enforcement officer. So this is under his jurisdiction.
Well,
And I think also around the house, the siding is coming off.
yes, ma'am. But the street itself needs to be redone. So, I mean, like the whole entire street. I even have pictures
We're
to
working
show,
on-
but
I think we have we have adjudicated other properties on that street.
I understand, but we don't live in a HOA, so why are we having such a hard time? You guys
Ma'am,
have,
Officer Grover is our officer, not Officer Baldwin.
well, I have Officer Baldwin card because he's the one that contacted me. He's the one that called me to come down here for my property. I have his card in my purse and I can provide it to you. He's the one that pulled up to me on the property telling me that he was the code enforcement guy. And I can actually bring my
Officer
uncle here.
Baldwin does assist us, most definitely. But our full-time code enforcement officer now is Officer Grover. I know it's a little confusing and I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Officer Grover, have you had any recent discussions with the property owner and with regard to this
Yes, I have.
property?
And
Yes,
the time that we did go out, I went out with Officer Baldwin the time that we did.
yes.
Since this photo, she has cut the grass, but the house still needs some work too.
It does,
Okay.
and it will be done.
And what is your plan and when, could you give us a timeline for that? to take place?
To be honest, I'm hoping by 2024 that everything will be completed. As of right now, when we went to the permit office, they said that we had to find a contractor. It's hard to find a contractor here. So I'm working on it. They won't let us do anything, so I can't do anything at this moment.
All right.
I have some questions.
Yes, yeah, Alderman Fraser, you're recognized.
I'm looking at this property. I don't see them on one picture. And all I see is the front porch. You have any more pictures of that I can look at? Simply because the reason I understand about the neighborhood, I understand about the condition of the neighborhood, and I understand the financial part of it. Is right now it's kind of hard to even, like I say, get a contract, and I don't know your financial status of now and getting this house fixed. But I can say this much: the property itself. I think the reason why this is in the historical district, and they're trying to revitalize that area. But if you can show that you're trying to do some improvements on this house, I think we shouldn't have any problems or anything.
Okay, so
What I'm saying, ma'am, what are your future plans? Are you gonna, not 6 months down the road, how soon are you gonna try to get this property up?
again, I can't find a contractor here in Natchez.
Where are you
I've been
from?
looking. I live in Texas.
Oh, you live in Texas?
Yes. And I mean, I'm familiar with it. I'm an adjuster. So I'm familiar with what needs to be done.
Okay,
But it's hard finding a contractor here.
okay, let me say this to you right quick. I have 2 contractors over there sitting over there. It's the Jones guy. You can get a number from them,
Okay.
and they'll be glad to help you, the Jones brothers over there. So I can't do this much for you. But like I say, the thing we're trying to do is that you're not the only one. It's all over town that we had this kind of problem. And we're trying to get everything straight. And, you know, like I say, it's a long process. I understand what you're going through. So, like I say, whenever you can work, I think, Mr. Mayor, we can work with her. If we can give her at least another, at least about for 3 or 4 months. How soon can you get it?
That's what I'm saying. I can talk with him and I can see and I can get back with him and let him know.
All right, thank you so much. I'm sorry,
She raised her hand.
Alderwoman Irving.
Okay, thank you. I do want to say this. I understand her saying that Mr. Baldwin reached out because was without an official director of that department for 7 months. And so Mr. Baldwin was that contact person for 7 months. And so I do understand that as well. And I do know that there has been a problem with contractors. And so I do agree that we need to afford her time. Because when I look back at other major projects, when I think about and I'm speaking of major projects that have been delayed because it was hard finding contractors. So I think we should afford her the opportunity to speak with this contractor tonight. And if that's not who she wants, then you need to continue to look. We do have to work with the people who want to upgrade their property. It's not that she don't, but she needs the time to do so and find the proper people to get it done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Alderman Maroney.
I agree. I actually, due to my hip condition, I'm not able to work. So I got in the car and I drove around this afternoon. I went to every single property on the list. I looked at this one. The grass has been cut. Things have been neatened up a little bit. I understand. Yeah, contractors are hard to come by, especially good reputable contractors that aren't going to rip you off. So be careful. But she's here. She's indicating she has a desire to make a difference and to clean it up. And she's correct. There's a lot of houses on that street. And in a lot of other places that I saw. So a lot of properties today that need to be on the list that aren't yet. Officer Grover is to be commended. He's got his hands full. We've got our hands full. But
Yes, we do.
it's a job that needs to be done. We need to stay on it. And, you know, we need to hold folks accountable, but she's here. She's saying she's going to do it. I said, we give her a chance. And if in 3 or 4 months, if nothing's changed, then the game's, you know, things will be different. But I think we've got to give her a chance. And I don't know whether we set a timeline tonight or not. I don't know, that would be up to.
I think we should,
We,
with her being an adjusting, a person, a professional herself,
Yeah, she
I
knows the
think she
game.
would know the protocol.
Yeah.
And that is to connect with Mr. Grover, give him updates as to what's going on. And I
So this is one I think we should give her
when
some
we go
time.
back in our regular meeting, we can consider that as we adopt the final resolution. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to your renovation of that house and improvement of our city. Do we have anyone else here representing a concern? Yes, sir, please come. And if you would, sign in and provide to us your name and address.
Yeah, doing.
Good, how are you?
Thank you. How are you?
My name's Anthony White. Again, Mr. Baldwin reached out to me.
What's the address of the property, Mr. White?
1234 Watkins.
Okay.
I keep telling them they can do whatever they want to do with it.
What address?
I had 1234 Watkins.
1234 Watkins, okay.
I hadn't paid taxes on that property since forever. So it don't belong to me.
Wow.
So Mr. Baldwin keep on reaching out to me for nothing. And I keep telling him that it don't belong to me. So I don't know what he wants.
Alderman Frazier, you're recognized.
Property don't belong to you, right?
Right,
But they gave you to come up here before the board.
right.
You once owned the property?
At one time, that's been a while ago.
So Officer Grover, is the property still in his name or who? How listed on the tax roll?
Check it on the Geo portal.
I ain't paying no taxes on it, so unless somebody paying it for me, God bless him.
Thank you, Mr. White. Thank you, Mr. White. This is a matter that we'll have to sort out and obviously identify who the owner is, but obviously it is a property that really could almost be deemed to be unclaimed.
Right.
Something needs to happen to it. It sounds like it doesn't concern you anymore. And so congratulations to you. Thank you, Mr. White. Thank you. Next on the list? Yes, sir. Thank you. Good to see you. And please sign in and state to us your name and address.
Address is 1157 Dr. Martin Luther King North. Yeah, you just.
And your name?
I'm Darren Promise.
It can be removed.
Before you get going, how long you been on that property?
I don't know, man. Actually, my aunt, she owns it.
Excuse me.
I say my aunt, she owns it. She lives in Atlanta.
She live in Atlanta.
Mhm.
Okay. Let me say this to you. This property has been in and off the list for the last, this is my second term, and I think it was that for that. It's been in and off adjudicated property, cleaned up with land. We need to do something about this property. Now, as I look at it now, every day I drive down the street, it's deteriorating worse and worse. The tin and blood off and everything. So my question to you, if it's your aunt property, and to you, what are y'all gonna do about this property?
Well, like you said, I mean, we didn't cut the grass. I keep it cut pretty much every 2-3 weeks. It's a fail on the roof. I got a roofer's number in my pocket. He's gonna go over there and put it back on like flat like it needs to be. She's up in age. She's not.
How old is your aunt? May I ask?
85.
Excuse me.
85.
Like I say, this has been on the list for as long as you, and I hate to say this, but I'm gonna have to say it. We need to do something about that property. Either somebody else, either the family needs to give it to somebody, sell it to somebody, because like I say, it's been an eyesore for years. And like you can cut it, and the windows are not boarded up, like I say, the tin blowing off, and all along Martin Luther King in that area, we are really trying to tear down a lot of those houses. And where it look now, it's deteriorating. It was in pretty good shape at one time.
Well, I mean, it got a solid structure. I mean, it's a brick home. I mean, it's not tabulating on the side. It's just on the roof. I mean, when you cut the grass on it, it looks like, but I didn't do anything with the windows because basically the locals now already stole everything out of there. So, but that's what we're in the mix of now.
Yeah, but
Of her trying to maybe put in my name.
yeah, but here's the thing: we just can't let the property be boarded up. Like say you got a next door neighbor, they complain about it. You can board it up. Like I say, you keep boarding it up. Like I say, it's been over 10 or 15 years that this house been abandoned. And
I mean, that's what we're right now. She's trying to see if she's gonna sell it to me or, just sell it outright.
you know what? That'd really be a great thing if you could purchase that property, so we really could put it back on the tax roll. Maybe you can talk to your auntie.
Yeah, I mean, she pays the taxes on time every month. I mean, every year, but like I said, I try to keep it, the grass cut and this and that with it, but that roof did kind of have a tear on it. I got a roof that's gonna come.
Yeah, when the last
Yeah.
storm came through. Yeah, okay. But like I said, I really wish that you could do something. They'll do a little more improvement, just boarding it up. Do a little more improvement on it.
Well, I mean, she's not here. She can't speak on that for herself, but I'm gonna relay the message to her. But that's what we're trying to do right now. I'm trying to see if she can put in my name.
You the next of kin.
There you go.
Okay. She don't have anyone else?
No.
Okay. It would be great if you can go to Atlanta and talk to her.
I'm trying. I'm this close to getting there. I mean, she's up in age, so she remembers this house
Okay.
20 years ago, and it's not looking like that 20 years ago.
Okay.
So I just try to keep the grass cut on there for, like you say, just to make it look good.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, if the board, if possible, if it's all right that we can let them fix the roof and possibly board those windows up. And about the next 5 or 6 months, see, can you buy that house from your hand? Because like I say, it's becoming a every year thing, and we really need to do something with that property. As I say, it is like a pretty good solid house, and just need some work on it.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's got a good structure on it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good house. I'm just saying, besides the roof, I mean, and keeping the grass cut. Do you want me to board it up?
Yeah, it needs to be.
Yes. What-
Go on. I
Alderwoman
was
Irving.
waiting till he finished. I did
I'll
want to
give
say,
you my time.
thank you. I do want to say that in the past, it had been cut on a regular basis. The grass had been, it's in my ward. It's actually very close to other property that I've been receiving calls from. And that is one of the things I would like to see, the grass cut and boarded up. I mean, we don't want people going in houses, people traveling in and out of their homes different times of the hours of the night. And then you have someone in and out of the house. So for safety,
Board it up.
yes,
Okay.
to board it up.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Do we have anyone else? Do we have anyone else here representing the property? All right. With that said, I'll entertain a motion to end the public hearing and go back into our regular meeting. Motion made by Alderman Davis, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
It's pertaining to the motion, and I want to say that there were 2 structures that I had spoke with Mr. Grover about that are not on here. This has been right at 6 months. I brought to their attention to add to the list,
Okay.
and they're not there. So
Okay. What properties are there?
Simmons Cleaners on St. Catherine Street, number 5 and number 7 on Winston Hill Street, right off St. Catherine Street, and the former liquor store on East Franklin Street.
Okay. Officer Grover, do you have those locations?
Liquor store is 3. I don't want to butcher that name, but I think we did add that to the list and remove that. They cut the grass. That's a vacant lot, correct?
It's not on the side. So is that side portion not a part of it, like where the garage area, like you turn it on Cato Street? Is that
Right.
not a part of it? Because that's not cut, and it never gets cut. I do see where they do the front portion of
Yeah,
it.
they cut the side. I went back out.
Was that recently?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
So give us those locations again and we'll double check.
Okay, Simmons Cleaners, and I don't have the physical address, but it's on St. Catherine.
Okay.
And the former liquor store on East Franklin Street, Winston Hill Street, that's number 5 and number 7 and number 9.
I think Winston Hill was already on there as well. I think that was,
It's never came forward because I've been looking for it. It's never come forward. Now, you have met me out there. We have had the discussion, but it has never been on the list, on the actual
Okay.
list.
All right.
But I do thank you, Mr. Grover, because you have come out with
Thank
me.
you. Thank you,
Mr.
Alderwoman.
Mayor,
Yes,
I
Alderwoman.
think
Paul.
we've had several discussions on Simmons Cleaners. I think it's part of the brownfield.
So
study
what it is
for the
the
environmental.
state, it's
I'm
state property.
sorry.
I think
Oh.
the Simmons Cleaners area, I
Yes.
think we've had several discussions on that property. And I think it's part of the brownfield study.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman Irving, yes.
It's owned by the state. We looked at it, it's owned by the state. I even contacted Mr. Rudder and he suggested I go back and
All
speak with
right.
Mr.
We'll,
Yeah, it's
Certainly
owned by the
look into
state to get permission to cut the
any
grass.
more, the motion is to adjourn the public hearing and return to our regular meeting. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. We're back in our regular meeting and staff is requesting the following resolution. And I'm going to read the resolution. A
Hold up,
resolution,
Mr. Mayor. Hold up
Yes.
just a minute. We didn't, this property, it's Johnson on 312 North.
yes.
Okay, it was dismissed off the list.
We were just going to read the resolution and then see if there were any addresses that should be amended that are
Okay.
on the list. And
Mayor,
so,
before people leave, I would like to just say, we have issues with, a lot of these properties are with absentee owners. So that's why a lot of them are on these lists and they get back on the list repeatedly. Because
Yes.
owners live out of state and they're not able to take care of these properties.
okay. Resolution of the mayor and board of aldermen of Natchez, Mississippi, adjudicating nuisance properties in Natchez, Mississippi. Whereas the charter of the city of Natchez, Mississippi provides powers to the mayor and board of aldermen generally to ensure property is clean and maintained and to ensure the health, safety, and welfare. And whereas the mayor and board of aldermen as authorized by state law by section 4281B of the Natchez City Code, following the provision of the notice required by section 21-1911 of the Mississippi Code of 1972 as amended, held a public hearing on, and I believe that date is today, September
26.
26, 2023 at 6 p.m. at 115 South Pearl Street, Natchez, Mississippi, in the council chamber building to determine if the property herein described is in such a state of uncleanliness as to be a menace to public health, safety, and welfare of the community. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and board of aldermen and regular council convened that pursuant to the aforesaid section 21-1911 Mississippi Code of 1972 as amended, the condition of the following properties was considered at a duly noticed public meeting. The mayor and board of aldermen determined that at least one of the following conditions exists on the properties: grass and weeds over 12 inches in height, failure to maintain exterior of building, vehicles parked beyond 72 hours, dangerous structures, offensive accumulation, screening, unsightly items. The mayor and board of aldermen finding proper notices being served on the parties and having heard testimony of enforcement officer and having duly considered all of the evidence presented to the board, finds the following properties to be in violation of section 301.3 and section 302.4 of the 2009 International Property Maintenance Code, adopted by reference in section 5.9.2 of the Development Code of the City of Natchez, Mississippi. The following properties are subject to this resolution. I'm going to take these one by one and then we will ask for a motion. And I'll pause on the ones that have been discussed tonight to see what the board wishes to do, and we'll be open to your input. Concord Avenue South, 27, offensive accumulations, overgrown grass and weeds. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. North, 1157. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Discussion is that, we allowed the gentleman, time enough to fix the roof and board this house up at 11:57.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderwoman Irving.
South Concord, 27 South Concord.
We haven't gotten there yet.
That was the first one you just listed on the
Oh,
list.
it is. Oh, I'm so sorry. There are too many on here.
That's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So with no one coming forward this evening, will we proceed to
Yes.
cut
Yes.
the property? Okay, thank you.
Yes, I'm only pausing on the ones that have been contested.
Okay.
All right.
I need to put in formal motion.
Not yet. We've still got the list to complete, and then the motion will be to adopt. And we are right now taking off 1157 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Street for the reasons you just stated. 95 East Oak Street, offensive accumulations, overgrown grass, weeds, and dilapidated property.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me,
Yes.
we have,
Alderman. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt here. 208 Monette. At
Yes.
4 o'clock today, they called into the office. They were only cited for grass and weeds. I couldn't get Grover, so I went out there, sent him a picture. 208 Monette has taken care of their situation.
Oh,
So I
okay.
believe that should be removed from the
Okay.
list. Just
Thank
didn't want them to get adjudicated.
All right, we'll get there in a minute. So 95 East Oak Street,
That's in my ward too.
627 East Steers Lane, offensive accumulations, overgrown grass and weeds. 116 Ivy Lane, offensive accumulations, overgrown grass and weeds. 106 Joyner Street, offensive accumulations, overgrown grass, weeds, and dilapidated structure. 100 Kennedy Drive, offensive accumulations, grass and weeds. 629 Maple Street, offensive accumulations in front. 634 Maple Street. I believe that there was discussion of allowing for 3 months. I had that note here. 634 Maple Street. Do we leave it on the list?
I think we should give her,
Sometime.
3
some
to 4
time
months.
to begin work on that property. It's important, ma'am, that, I know you live out of state, but it's important that you begin work on this property.
All right.
All
All right.
Progress.
208 Manette Street, offensive accumulations, overgrown grass.
I want to say that.
That's one take off.
Take off.
That's the one
Yeah,
you take
it's been
off.
cleaned up.
It's been cut. 304 Manette Street, offensive accumulations, overgrown grass. 505 North Union Street, offensive accumulations, grass and weeds.
I mean, you missed 312 North Commerce. I think we have to remove this property.
I'm sorry, I don't see that one on my list.
North Commerce Street, 312.
North, I see,
It's right on the 304 Monette.
I see 505 North Union Street.
It's right above.
We had a,
I
we had
don't-
an
We have
addendum
11
that
that
was,
has been removed.
you've been removed.
Okay.
yeah, that was taken
Oh, okay. That one was not on this list. That must be another one. Okay, that one comes after, and
304.
so it's 312 North Commerce Street. All right, and that is for offensive accumulations and also,
The feral cats.
okay. Thank you, Alderwoman.
You're welcome.
Mayor, I think that's the one that came. And then, that's all right. The north, as long as I have it on this, 505 North Union Street, offensive accumulations, grass and weeds. 600 North Union Street, offensive accumulations, grass and debris hanging from porch. 907 State Street, offensive accumulations. And while his ownership is in question, we still have to leave the property on here, 1234 Watkins Street, because it's not a question of ownership. Whoever is the owner, the adjudication, we just need to make sure it is adjudicated in reference to the correct owner. But I believe it should stay on the list. Obviously, it's dilapidated and abandoned
It's been burned too,
situation
so.
and been burned. So we are taking off 1157 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. North. 634 Maple Street, 208 Manette Street. And that's all that I show. Do I have a motion
I have a question.
to adopt this resolution?
I have, yeah.
Let's see. Wait, we have one more thing before I entertain.
That's the one we just
Uh,
had. Taking off, page 12.
312. But it's,
All right, just one second. This not, y'all, you said to add 312 North Commerce Street to the list, but we do have a letter from the owner.
We actually did.
We say take it off. We say take it.
Yeah, that's taken off.
It was never even on my list.
first of all, Mr. Mayor, go get the 312.
So I'm taking it back off.
We
It
got
was not on my
overgrown.
list. Okay.
They wrote this up wrong, Mr. Mayor. Because at 312 North Commerce Street, they got offensive accumulation of overgrown fairy cats and cats reported. This was on mine, so.
Okay.
On here.
It's, take it off. We have the letter. I have one that has it taken off.
Okay.
This has been
There
just,
must have been an update.
it's been moving. We've had so many calling and talking today. This is a chore, I tell you. And you know, there's an old saying that it's like watching sausage being made. We're making a little sausage tonight, but we'll get through it in a moment. So I believe we have now stated the resolution. We have stated the proper list, and I am now entertaining a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderwoman Hall,
Second.
seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Any discussion? We'll call for the question. Question's been called. We'll proceed to a vote. Alderwoman Hall,
Aye.
Alderman Frazier, Alderwoman Irving,
Aye.
Alderman Davis,
Aye.
Alderman Maroney.
Aye.
The ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you so much. That takes care of adjudicated property. All right, we do have visitors here and we have a couple others that we're gonna try to move up. I know that there are some who didn't expect to be here this long. Our first visitor, and visitors are allowed to address for a total of 5 minutes. And our first visitor is Pastor Roderick Lewis, pastor of New Beginning Missionary Baptist Church, to discuss erosion at 35 Triumph Lane in Natchez. Pastor Lewis, you are now recognized, and thank you for your patience this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm here along with one of our lead deacon, Deacon Charles Mark from New Beginnings. And our concern is we have, as you already know, and some others know, we have an extremely bad erosion problem on our property there. And we've been in the process for a few months of working, trying to get that taken care of. And we learned that we received approval on a federal level to take care of that problem. And my concern is coming before this board tonight is to know when it will be completed through, it's the EWP program. So I know based upon that program, the city has the responsibility. And I'm approaching you to find out because of course, you know, we're getting ready to go into a different season, rainy season, and it's already bad. We don't want it, you know, someone said, well, we don't want our church to be washed off in that hole.
Yes.
Okay. And that's true. But at the same time, you know, it's a concern for us. And I would like to know, based upon the information we already have, when we can look forward to getting some work done there.
Yes.
You know, at that property.
Pastor Lewis, I'm so glad we had a chance to meet yesterday, and I know we've had a number of discussions and meetings. Just to give a little history, we actually visited the site with Congressman Thompson in February while he was visiting at your church and saw it. And it is a very major erosion issue in the bayou there along the rear property there of the church, and could in time endanger the parking lot and then encroach upon the church at some point. And we at first requested a federal earmark, but that was not granted. But we did then apply for a grant through the EWP program. That application was denied at first, and this summer we appealed it. It was then in July approved at the state level, and I just received word today, verbal approval at the federal level. We have still not received written approval, and we're requesting written approval We are also told that it has not been funded yet. However, the city has been able to embark upon EWP projects in the past once we have written approval and we know that funding then is in process. And so what I'd like to do is, and it's very good now that we had our meeting yesterday, getting that word today that we have now received the approval. I believe we can very soon proceed with bidding the project. The estimated cost of the repair is $750,000. We've already gotten an engineer's estimate. And one concern, and I've actually expressed this just today with the NRCS, one concern that we have is that that cost can really increase if we delay to the spring rains and when erosion really can take place. That 750,000 could be 1.5 million. Generally, there's a 25% match that is required. The city will need to consider that. We will need to look at how that those funds would be appropriated, whether or not there would be any participation, from the property owner, being the church, being that it is on the church property. So I would suggest now that we have verbal approval, we will seek written approval as quickly as possible and have a meeting. And let's try to have a report by the next board meeting to see exactly where we are. And it may be possible that we could proceed with a bidding of the project.
Mr. Mayor,
So that's where we are right now. Yes, Alderman Frazier.
let me say this, that is in my ward. This project, I understand about Congressman Thompson had already worked through him to get the funds to allocate for this project. But this project is gonna balloon more than, as you say, more than what it's gonna cost. $750,000 not gonna come. I can tell you that right now, and I'm not an engineer. But here's what the other part is, and we fail to realize that probably butt up to Maryland Heights subdivision. Maryland Heights subdivision is finna go in to buy along with the church. So that is vital that we get this project done as soon as possible, because you done been back there, I done been back there. That railroad track from going from that railroad track all the way down to the church is eroding quick, fast, in a hurry. And Maryland Heights project is butting straight up back and it's washing away too. So we're gonna have to find some funds for somewhere, because we are finding funds for everything else. We need to find funds to get that done.
Let me just say the EWP grant, just for clarification, only addresses the area of erosion. There are very strict guidelines that the CRCS follows. And I want it stated, this actually was declined by them on the first application, but it was on our appeal in the summer that they did grant it. The EWP does not apply at this time, that grant, to the other side. We can certainly apply, for that grant, but I don't want to mislead anyone to think that we're talking about both sides of the bayou. At this time, the EWP grant that has been awarded is only for the side on the side behind the church.
So I ask you, Mr. Mayor, we gonna let Maryland Heights fall off in the back?
Alderman Frazier, we can certainly apply for that grant.
But I'm just saying, I'm talking about city-owned, excuse me, I'm talking, Mr. Mayor, I'm talking about city-owned property that we've been out there for years. I think that's very important that we get that done as soon as possible at the church. Like I say, Congressman Thompson up there, he got $300,000. We were 300-something thousand. We were trying to figure out where we would get that money from. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have got it. And y'all went back there and looked at it. So, like I say, this is an urgent project for especially over there on my side of town where my people live at, my constituents live at. We need to do something quick, fast, and hurry.
I'm all for it. Thank you. Yes, Alderwoman Irving.
I just want to ask, have we applied for any of the infrastructure money? Because we have an infrastructure bill that has millions of dollars in it. And so I'm just asking.
And we have, and
went
we're
to the
waiting. We are waiting on word. We have received state funding for some erosion projects, and we're waiting on word on federal funding for other erosion projects. This has not been on that list because we are pursuing the funds through the NRCS, and we have been granted the WP grant for the project.
So you're saying that we don't want to pursue that?
Oh, we
route
can
going?
continue to pursue, but if you'll know, remember this board authorized an exhaustive study of erosion throughout our city. And we did decide on a list that is the top priorities, and we're working on that list. It's the list is in excess of 50 million in projects all over our city. I don't know that this actually is on that list.
It's not. It was not. It was.
yeah.
I can recall that.
We depended on the alderpersons to bring the items in their wards for that list. But I do know that we've worked to get this grant and we've gotten it. And let's see what we can proceed with in this area. And then if there are others, but we do have, I want to remind the board, we do have a drainage study that we paid for through ARPA funds that has now identified all of the top areas, and we're following that list. Now, if at any time the board chooses to amend that list, alter it, add any other locations, of course, this board can, but that is the list that we have right now, our Natchez drainage study, and we're working, this is the second phase. We completed the North Natchez drainage project last year, and this is now the second phase of a drainage project for Natchez. But this is, at the moment, this area is not on that list, but I don't want anyone to think we aren't addressing it because we have applied for the grant. We have received today verbal approval at the federal level. I need to get written approval, but that is only for this side of this bayou that is there affecting the church.
Sir, so
Yes,
I'm wanting
Alderwoman
clarity.
Murphy.
So then I'm asking,
Yes.
so the verbal approval that you received from the state, is that
From the federal
from the
government.
federal government?
We
Is
have
that
written
the
approvals.
infrastructure bill money?
No, ma'am. It's through the NRCS.
So why have we not applied for the infrastructure bill money? That's what I'm asking.
Because this actually qualified, they're different, they call them buckets. And this qualified for the NRCS program, and we have now gotten it awarded. And we don't need to apply for another grant. We've already gotten a grant for this project. Now, we can certainly apply for grants to address erosion on the other side of the bayou, but that has not been brought to this board up until this time.
But and then my next question is this.
And we can continue to discuss, but in the interest of time, we have so many people here.
But I must say,
Yes,
this, if you don't
Alderwoman
mind.
Murphy.
Then
Yeah.
what's the purpose of the infrastructure money if there's a need in the city of Natchez, if we don't apply for it, then?
We have applied, and we are waiting on federal
Okay.
word now.
All right.
And that was during a lobbying trip, and a number of projects that are on that list we applied for. We've received funding for Concord drainage, for West Sears Lane, and
Because it was
and
big
for
and all
Turtle
the stuff.
Creek. And we also have received other funds, and we are waiting on federal funds. We have applied for requesting federal earmarks for my goodness, I don't have the list in front of me, but it's quite a number. Just go back to our drainage study. It's about that thick. You should have a copy of it.
I do, sir, and I do understand what you're saying, but I'm just looking at the fact that, we keep seeing this, all these monies, even in our meetings that we attend, all this money that has been allocated
Yeah.
for infrastructure and roads and bridges and all of that.
And we've been getting a lot of it. Praise God.
Let me,
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, yes,
Let me say something.
Pastor Lewis.
The money that she's speaking about, Congressman Thompson spoke to me about that as well.
Yeah.
And he said that we should try to, address, that situation
Yes.
from every angle possible.
All right, thank you.
And that's what we're trying to do. That's why I'm here today,
Thank you.
to make sure that we get this, because up to now, I've been talking to you about it, but I
Yes.
want everyone to know what's
Yes,
going
I know.
on so we can deal with this and get it done in a timely manner. Like I
And
said, I know you all have to work it out the way you have
as
to work
you
it out.
know, as you know, we have written letters and sought numerous letters of support for this to get this grant. And I'm so excited that we have gotten the EWP grant for this erosion project. And I now, as I told you yesterday, want to work to find those appropriations. We have to now find 25% of the project costs, and we need to work on that. And yes, we actually met with Congressman Thompson earlier this year in reference to our Natchez drainage project, the new one. And he is working, as are other members of Congress, on getting funds for those. We're hoping we'll have some good news, soon on those areas. And I'm happy to revisit, this issue at any time, certainly.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, all
I hate to keep going on and on, but I hope, like I say, I hope we can get this done as soon as possible, because I'm looking at the list right here. Look like we got a erosion problem on Clifton Avenue. So, and so we got erosion problems all over town.
we have an exhaustive list that this board voted on last year, and it is our Natchez drainage project.
Yes.
And anyone who'd like to look at that
Yes.
is a public document, and every location on there was put forward by every member of this
I was
board.
just simply saying, Ms. Van, just simply saying that I'm looking at this
Yeah,
on the city attorney report about Clifton Avenue. and
that's
and-
not an erosion map. That's not an
We're
erosion.
dealing with drainage. Y'all gonna close the street?
That has nothing to do with erosion.
Okay,
That's another matter altogether. We
we
don't, that's in the area of the bluff stabilization project. There's no erosion.
the stabilization.
I thank you very much, Patrick. As I said, we're going to try our best to get that written approval and also to locate the funds needed for the balance of that project and have a report by our next meeting. And you're invited to attend.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
can I
Patrick.
be, can I get a
Yes,
copy?
Alderman
Yes,
Fletcher.
I would like to be in on that discussion if possible.
Certainly, certainly. Thank you so much. We have now with us Greg West. Mr. West, it's an honor to have you here, and we are now going to recognize you for 5 minutes to address the board.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Board of Aldermen.
Good evening.
First, let me say this. Every morning, before I leave the house, I pray. And this is a part of my prayer. Lord, thank you for this land and country, for our president, and all of those who are in position of authority on the local, state, and national levels. Give them wisdom and understanding to make decisions that would truly cause this nation to be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I pray that for y'all every morning. Yes, no.
Thank you, Mr. West.
Anyway, I'm here today to talk about what happened in 2001. The then mayor and board of aldermen at that time at a regular meeting honored one of the most gifted high school coaches that had coached in the Natchez Adams County area. That's Coach Henry Dr. Woods. Coach Woods retired in that year of 2001 after 40 years of coaching track and field. In 2002, the next year, Senators Bob Deering and Robert Johnson also honored Coach Woods in Resolution 540, which you have a copy of. The following year, in 2003, the Mississippi Association of Coaches, high school coaches, inducted Coach Woods into their Hall of Fame. You have that information. Several months ago, I began to pursue having the track named after Coach Woods instead of just talking about it. A lot of people have been talking about it. And it was then that I found out what happened in 2001, that the actual mayor and board of aldermen then made that recommendation, but it didn't happen, which you'll see in Resolution 540. At least it was made. It don't tell you it didn't happen, but it did. In 2013, Coach Woods passed away. Several high school coaches have been honored with their name on a facility, which you have a list of. Coach Wood's number of state championships won outnumbered them all. Another former high school coach in Mississippi with similar accomplishments had a track named in his honor just last year. It is not your decision, I know, to decide if his name will be on that track or not. To get advice from other public institutions that make similar decisions. I went before the Board of Supervisors, I think last week, and they agreed and acknowledged that they will send a letter that they support the idea. And so I'm here to ask you, will you send a letter of support to recognize Coach Woods? So when I go to their October meeting that the superintendent has asked me told me that I can come and make that request. I would like to have a letter of recommendation also from this mayor and Board of Aldermen.
We'd be honored to do that. Thank you.
Any
Yes.
questions?
Yes, Alderman Maroney has.
I would like to
his hand up.
make a motion that we, as a board, write a letter to support. I don't know who it is that, is it the State Department of Education or can I?
No,
School
just
board?
school board,
School
the
board.
public school
I
board.
cannot understand why anyone would not want to name that track after Coach Doc Woods. I mean, he was a legend. Anybody that knows anything about track knows about Doc Woods. And I don't understand why that track is not already named after Coach Woods.
All right, the motion has been made by Alderman Maroney and seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Alderman Frazier?
Let me say, Greg, I just want to thank you for what you do, because your commitment to the school and the excellence in education. From my understanding, that the board don't have a problem with it, but here's the thing is, have you been to the school board yet?
I'm going in October.
Okay, so we don't have a problem with what I think what we should do, we should table this until he go to the school board, because that school board property.
It'll be over then.
Huh?
It'll be over then.
I disagree.
We just, okay.
All right.
I still would give him my support now.
Okay.
Help him. Give
One at
him
a
some
time.
meaning.
Need to get recognized, Alderman.
I get my time.
All right, any further discussion? All right, we'll call for the question. Question's been called. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Final comment.
Yes.
Alderman Frazier, when I was pursuing the purchasing of the signs and you asked me to make sure all the schools were involved, the city's donation went toward 10 signs for Cathedral. They had 20 more to purchase. They have purchased them and just hadn't put them up yet.
Okay.
So just wanted to let you know that has happened.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. West. Thank you.
Those
Alderwoman
signs-
Irving?
I just want to say, Mr. West, those signs really look great out there.
They
They
do.
really look great.
They-
Recognize the area more, it gets more
They
attention
look
as
great.
well.
Our next person on the agenda, visitor, is Mr. Cornelius Bradley, 104 South Bluebird Drive. And Mr. Bradley, it's an honor to have you here this evening. We are going to now recognize you for 5 minutes.
My name is Cornelius Bradley, resident of 104 South Bluebird Drive, Natchez, Mississippi. I'm here as a concerned citizen about recent accusations about the completion, the bringing of a green plant. As you're being, my wife, Ms. Frazier, are passing out those questions that we have, concerns. So each alderman and the mayor, everybody will have one as we go through. And I'm not going to read all of this. In the audience, you may get one too. We have met and have been told that there is a green plant that's coming toward the Armstrong tire plant Titan facility. And we have great concerns over there of ourselves and our concerns about how and when and how this place would be used and who and whom will be there to clean and make sure that this place is able to perform or to open up as it is. If you look at your papers, you'll see certain questions on there about the EPA, the DEQ, and all of those. And as I was reading the agenda, Trey he is way down the list on the concerns about that. We are ahead, so there's a lot of us need to stay here so you can listen to Trey Hess on his concerns. I'm not agreeing with the board because in the Democrat, it said the mayor and the board of Aldermen was all in agreement with this, and he was very excited about this, and a whole lot of residents were very pleased with what's being brought here. But in my congregation here, I don't have not one that's agreeing. And I don't know how and when this was proposed to the board, or how many aldermen know about this, or what. And is there an agreement already in place, a contract with this green company to come here? And what is a green company that considers the citizens in our ward wants to know? We have problems over there already.
No, Mr. Mayor, she's out of order. We have somebody speak.
Well,
She can.
there was representation made
Yes, but
that she has a right to correct. Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
But you can't do that.
Please continue.
30 things that's going on over there has been bothering us over many, many, many years. A lot of us didn't find out about all of this kind of contamination for after we had moved there. We had been there. But to get and find out that you're going to bring in jobs into a place that's been sitting for 20 some years, and with the contamination that's over there from the ground up to the water up to the air and everything else. Also, whatever this green plant, and we don't know if it's going to be a food or what. We don't know what. And the people in the neighborhood and it wants to know in both wards, in 2 and 4, because this plant borders both of them. And in this area, this is a majority Black area. And you bringing stuff in on us, we want to know when and where, and all of this year, and to get a correction. And from hearsay, which is inadmissible anyway, you want me to hold up, Mr. Mayor, till you finish?
No, sir, I just.
Okay, I apologize.
Taking timer.
Okay.
Making sure we're good.
These are concerns that we are here for. And we are addressing them in the paper that you have. So like I said, I wasn't going to read anything down on because you have a list of what the concerns are. And we need to meet with someone, whom or whoever, in a meeting with the neighbors and the constituents. Not no one-on-one. We don't meet no one-on-one. But I can't meet with nobody and go back and tell them, what's going on. They need to be present so they can have knowledge of where they can. People that live on the other side of the plant. People live on this side, people live on this side, and people live on that side. They are the ones that I can't go back and tell them what's going to happen on the east side and the west side and the south side, but I might be on the north side. These are concerns that we want to know. Not only, what's going to be there, but if people already know what's going on over there, I think that's poor communication. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Thank you very much. And Mr. Bradley, you did mention that we have a gentleman here, Mr. Trey Hess. We're going to invite him up in just a moment, Mr. Hess. We do have an individual here who has to, and I'm sorry for looking at my phone, but we have an individual here who has to go back to Jackson, and he is our investment advisor, and we just can't hold him much longer. Before we do that, yes, your 5 minutes. Thank you for being here, Mr. Bradley, and for keeping to the limit. And I do encourage you to stay, Mr. Trey Hess will speak in just a moment. But right now, we have, under the city clerk's report, authority for the mayor and city clerk to work with Trinity Capital Investors to invest funds for the following accounts. And so I'm going to ask Mr. Jeff Wilson, who is here on behalf of Trinity Capital, to please come forward. And thank you for being patient with us, Mr. Wilson. You have been doing a lot of work to help us maximize return. Just a way of introduction, Trinity Capital, I know, works with many municipalities around the state and is also the chosen investment firm to oversee the Mississippi Municipal Service Company funds for all the city's liability plans and also work comp plans. And so some time ago, we entered into an agreement where Trinity has been investing some of the funds being held for future projects. We've been seeing a good return. Thank you for that. And it has been given advice to us that we have some funds that are now budgeted, but not to be, spent in the near future. 1.25 million ARPA funds that are set aside right now for the Silver Street project, which we hope to break ground on, bid in January and break ground on in late spring. Also, a community development fund balance of $400,000 that is basically remaining idle until other qualifying projects are identified. $1 million casino lease fund that is set aside until future needs within our budget, and $225,000 in our traffic fund, again, set aside funds that have come to us for purposes that are not to be expended until later in the budget. So you're here to provide advice, and I'm going to recognize you at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the board, if y'all remember, we entered into an agreement first part of the year in March to have Trinity invest your funds that were generated through 3 bond sales, your convention center improvement bonds, your capital improvement bonds for the city, and your 2022 GO road bond. We've taken those funds and y'all have drawn from them from time to time. But since we've had those funds in April through August, you've made about $125,000 in interest just on those funds as you wait to spend those funds going forward. In conversations.
Can you say that number again?
Right at $125,000 in the first 6 months. This is using the investments that are allowed by state law for cities to invest in bonds as they wait. As you go forward, these city funds will differ somewhat. You don't have as much flexibility investing operating funds of the city as you do with bond funds. There'll be a little bit of a change. Bond funds are allowed to use U.S. agency bonds and other bonds as prescribed in 27-105-33. These operating funds of the city will be more restricted, 31-19-5. Mr. Attorney.
We'll agree, nobody else will know.
Okay. They'll restrict you somewhat what you can do, only being able to invest funds that are guaranteed by the U.S. government. So you'll be a little more restrictive. This has been a very profitable time as the general interest rate environment has gone up so much in the last 14 months. We believe that's going to continue to be the case at least through the summer of 2024. It's going to be very advantageous to have these funds invested as you wait to expend them. All the funds are liquid. If you were to need your funds, because they are in a government bond, they can be liquidated and sent back to you within 24 hours, excuse me. I think we found that to be true in the cases where city clerk has needed these funds to pay back as they've been spent by the contractors on these various projects.
All right.
Mayor, these funds will be very short term. City clerk and I have discussions because we don't know the true nature of how long these funds will be there until the board decides. It'll be relatively short term. You can anticipate around 5% if I hold my mouth right and knock wood at least over the short term. So $2 million, you'll have another $100,000 a year.
All right, thank you. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to make the investment as described and advised by our investment counselor.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Maroney, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Discussion?
Yes,
Yes, Alderman Fraser.
city clerk, are these funds been already incorporated into the budget for this year?
I'm not sure if she added these into the budget of this year, but I think she did, add them.
Yes, I have confirmed that they are in the budget. But rather than have them just sit there until they're needed, not earning the interest they could earn.
You mean the investment money or the, what we earned?
All these funds, we got them, the ARP fund.
Oh, yeah, those funds are on, yeah, those are on our budget, yes,
Incorporated.
absolutely.
Thank you.
You
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
He did answer. He said, but at a 5% interest rate. That's what he
Approximately,
said.
yes, ma'am, if I hold my mouth right, nothing changes. ARPA funds, there's a term on those. There's a limit where they have to be returned back to the city or back to the federal government. And I don't know if this is part of your match or your original allocation or your match funds. I don't know. The original allocation had to be invested or it's used through 2024. If it's your match that you've got with the second round from the state, if you, as you wait on your projects that are approved per the list, I think you have until 2026.
You do.
Yeah.
All right.
How do these funds, do they look solvent for the upcoming year? How they look?
ARPA money?
Yeah,
You've
no,
already got it. It's sitting there earning nothing right now. It's sent to you by the federal government. Back with the inflation reduction.
so what are we getting the interest on? We're not, you say we're not getting on the ARP fund?
All those funds right now are sitting in operating account, just
Yes.
earning nothing.
Okay.
So we anticipate we'll earn about 5% if we can use our bond funds as a benchmark. Bond funds are going to earn a little more. These are operating funds that are going to earn a little less, but something more than nothing.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? We will now call for the question. The question's been called. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you,
Motion
Thank
carries.
you, Board.
Thank you, Ms.
I'll be
Wilson.
back, let's shoot for me to be back in 6 months, and we'll do a complete recast of what we have, because they are a little bit different. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I need to clarify, this is not a public hearing. Anyone addressing the board has to first be on the agenda, on the approved agenda. Anyone though wishing to address the board in the future, we do accept those requests in the mayor's office. And those forms can be picked up in the mayor's office during any, day during regular work hours. We will now, we have had the vote. I'm going to ask that we also now bring forward another gentleman, Mr. Trey Hess, who, as Mr. Bradley said, was down on the agenda, but we'll ask him to come now. Mr. Hess is with PPM Consultants. He is an environmental engineer who has been working with the city on brownfields, helped the city receive a coveted brownfields grant in 2021. And I believe the grant was $442,000.
492.
492, yeah, 492,000. And then also we recently received another grant pertaining to the Fry building that you are now helping us with, and related to the EOLA project. And then, Mr. Hess, you have been working with all these brownfield sites in our city, including the tire plant. So as you know, and as has been said, we are entertaining at the moment a proposal to move forward with an economic entity that wishes to establish a business there. And the business would be a green industry specializing in cutting-edge technology, specializing in FDA-approved health products known as nutraceuticals and adaptogens, health-giving foods containing medicinal benefits. The company has been working with the city and Natchez Inc. for the past 3 years to get to this point. And being that there has been discussion, and I know that a motion made at an earlier meeting allowed the city to move forward in perfecting a contract, provided that environmental concerns were addressed and the city attorney and the city's environmental engineer were involved. So as our environmental engineer, we'd like to hear from you related to any environmental concerns we may have at the Titan Tire plant.
Thank you, Mayor. And if y'all don't mind, with respect, can I turn and talk to, I think a lot of folks here would rather hear me
Absolutely.
this
Yep.
way versus me.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So, thank you. My name's Trey Hess. I worked at the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality for 25 years as a regulator. So I was the kind of guy who came in and made people who caused contamination clean up their mess. I also worked with people who wanted to buy a piece of property and wanted to revitalize it. I worked with them to try to get them in there to take care of it being a safe place, a place where the community could be safe. And then also worked with putting the finger or the thumb on those who were doing the wrong thing. Okay, so I think I've got friends who are from Natchez. Miss Wanda Jennings, I don't know if any of y'all know Miss Wanda. She went to Natchez High School. She worked at EPA for 25, 30 years. She and I have been, she ran track at JSU. She could dust me in a heartbeat when it comes to running track. But, and then Mr. Charles King, who was with EPA Superfund program, he's still there. You know, Charles, I don't want to use the word street cred. I got a little bit of cred. And so what I wanted to do, because I know there's a lot of concerns about what a green company is, what are people going to go do out there, what's been done. I'm here to share with you sort of what we've done with the brownfield program and what assessments have been done. And I'm going to go back in time a little bit, back in the day, because this plant's been around here for a very long time. And I wanted to at least give you guys context coming forward, because the past, you know, we got to remember the past. We got to remember what might be out there. And then we want to be protective, because let's face it, we're talking about 2 wards here that this is all, and it's the city as well. And so it's real important that we as representatives, all due respect to you guys up here, but representing the city, it's important for us as a reputation, as a former regulator, as part of PPM Consultants, we want to be sure that you guys get the right information. And there's going to be some tough choices on some things. There's going to be some questions on all that. So let's go back in time a little bit. Now, back in the day, this was an old plant that was owned by Fidelity Tire. It's one of the largest tire plants ever. It was one of the first ones to have bonds done to build it. It's a pretty miraculous looking piece of architecture too. In fact, if there ever was a nuclear holocaust, that's where I'm going, okay? Because that's a place that can be protected. Now, back in the day, and today as well, asbestos was used as fireproofing. Some of these plant sites, some of the downtown properties, some of your homes, you might have some transite siding on the side of your houses. There is asbestos there, no doubt. In fact, in 2021, before y'all won the grant, James Johnson, by the way, who's doing a terrific job of managing this grant, he and I went to the EPA and talked to them and said, look, we just want to know what's out there asbestos wise in that building. And so they went out and spent a bunch of money for you guys that cost you taxpayers anything, went out and did an assessment, and was called a phase 2 in 2021. And in that, they identified asbestos in different areas. Here's the thing about asbestos. Asbestos does not become a problem until you disturb it.
That's
okay?
right.
So now there are some areas in the basement that's got some asbestos on it. If you've ever been in the plant, I went in the plant maybe 2020, 2021.
2017.
Is that when I went?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, thank you. All right, went in there and you could see in there, the boiler is in there and it says, this has got asbestos on it, don't touch it. Okay, you don't touch it unless you're gonna do something. All right, so that's the first thing. So there is asbestos out there, all right? The key thing with that, there are EPA and DEQ requirements. And it's one of those thou shalt nots. Thou shalt not disturb this without doing an asbestos inspection, and you must send a notification to DEQ 10 days before that to ensure that the people out there are trained, that asbestos inspection was done, that you're going to send it to the right landfill, that you're going to bag it right, all those things. So the notification form, and I am more than happy if anybody wants to see what that form looks like, come to me, get my information, I'll give you that. But it's a requirement, and it's a requirement for any site. Any site that has demolition or renovations, you've got to do that notification to DEQ. And people get busted every now and then. You'll see it every now and then. Somebody's going to do a renovation, they screw up. DEQ comes out there, fines them $1,000, $2,000, whatever may be the fine. And it could be on just small commercial property. With the Brownfield grant, we've helped some of the Kimbrell building. It's been revitalized. We did the asbestos inspection for them on that so they could do some of the renovations. All right, so inside the building, there's areas that need to be dealt with if they're going to mess with it. If they're not going to mess with it, they don't need to mess with it. That's an important thing, okay? Now, back in the day, there's a rail spur, and I'm going to just kind of, if you can visualize in your mind, you've got the north side of the plant over there on Kelly Avenue, and you got the south side, and the south side's got where the old rail spur is. That rail spur area, back in the day, just remember, back in the day, people would load up the rail cars with fuel and those kind of things. There is some contaminated soil there on the backside. What happened, was in about 2020. Well, let me back up. Several years before that, the people that are out there doing this assessment work or was working out there, they poked holes in the ground and they found that there was some contamination in the groundwater. Now, your drinking water is not that shallow groundwater. You guys go dig about 15, 20 feet deep, 30 feet deep, you're going to run into some groundwater that is not stuff that you're drinking. Your water comes from a different spot on there. And y'all, in fact, you should be getting in your water bills every year, a community right to know that says this is what your water quality looks like. But that shallow stuff does have some contamination in it. And what DEQ did, and remember the Krause Metals facility, I think it blew up a long time ago, maybe back when I was in high school. There was some cleanup done over there too. And DEQ, the regulator, they went out there and they said, look, you've cleaned it up to a point where it's good enough to stay in there and stay in place. Now, when people say, well, why don't you clean it all the way up? Here's the thing. Last time y'all washed your car with a sponge, you had soap in that sponge. Did you get all the soap out of your sponge after you're done? You can't get all the soap out of the sponge, okay? At some point, you finally say, I give. But what DEQ does, they say, we want you to continue to monitor that. We don't want that sponge to continue to grow and get bigger and get out all of it in the neighborhood. I know that's a really pathetic example, but I think it kind of works. It's like getting soap out of a sponge. So about 2020, so DEQ continues to monitor that site. They go out there periodically. They go collect samples from those groundwater wells, and they continue to make sure that plume is not doing anything to grow. Okay, so that's happening. At the same time, about 20. I'm gonna lie to you, I can't remember what the date is, but just forgive me on this, okay? But several years ago, the city worked with DEQ and put some restrictions on the property out there by the rail spur. Okay, so the rail spur area's got this residual soap and a sponge out there, and it's usually gas. So it's old gas, and then some TCE, some solvents parts, washers. But what they've done is they put a restriction, and it's on the deed. And on that restriction, it says, in so many words, don't mess with this area. And look, I just had cataract surgery yesterday, so forgive me. All right, it says, there shall be no excavating, drilling, other activities that create exposure to contaminated media without prior approval of DEQ. In other words, anybody coming in, anybody there now, anybody in the future, this runs with the land. You shall get DEQ's blessing before you go off and mess with anything out there. So I think the important message that I want to point out is EPA's did some work out there, spending their money out there to look at the asbestos piece. DEQ has been involved in this thing for a very long time, and they're going to continue to be involved because this is running with the land. The other thing it says, the groundwater shall not be used without prior approval of DEQ. I mean, it's just a litany of requirements on those particular areas of the property. And so you've got some residual contamination out there. You've got some asbestos that if you're going to go mess with some of that, you want to go in one of those big buildings, you got to go deal with it because the workers are going to be people that are asbestos workers that are certified probably in the area, and it's got to protect them. OSHA's going to get you. DEQ's going to get you. EPA may get you if you don't do the right thing. So here's the thing I want to emphasize to everybody. Y'all want to know what's going on and what's coming up, okay? From the Brownfield grant, we have actually got where we're going to go out there and look, Mr. Fraser, we're going to look in that area with a phase 2 in the next couple of months to really look and see if that soap is still sitting in that sponge, okay? If the new company, and I'm not involved with the new company, but I will tell you that they have to meet permits. Any new business that comes in town that's going to be making something, they're going to have to get an air permit or a water permit or a waste permit. They're going to have to make sure they take their waste to a landfill. They're not taking it out in a ravine somewhere and dumping it. But all that needs to happen. And then also they have to get those permits from DEQ, and DEQ will be coming out there and doing some inspections, or they will be requiring them to do some of that. Now, all that being said, that's the part where we are involved in, and that is DEQ is going to be involved in making sure this permits are all going to be done right. They're also going to be looking at the assessment that we're going to be doing out there, and then if there is any renovations inside, they're going to make sure that they get a notification and the right people come out and deal with all that work. So that's the environmental from a nutshell. And I will tell you, the EPA has given a grant to the city, and we are to have, we had a community meeting last year about the Fry building. I don't know, some of y'all maybe showed up here and we talked about what all was going on with the Fry building. We're due for another community meeting, probably another month or two or whatever. I'm more than happy to bring all these reports and talk through them, explain to you guys what all is going on these different properties, and then try to just break down what's the best use of these properties. Because at the end of the day, DEQ is going to be involved in this. DEQ is invested in this, and so is the city for that matter. So that's
Mr. S.
That's it. Yes, sir.
I'm glad you come here to give us an assessment on this. You hit on a few high points. In 2017, I went in that plant. In 2023, I went in.
Behind you and me?
No, 2017.
Okay.
In 2020,
it's called Sometimers, not all.
2023. I went over there when your crew was over there doing the assessment. I went in, I have pictures. In 2017, I did the whole plant. As you stated in your statement, the groundwater in the backside over there by Bowman Street and those lanes, the water was clear, but it had black chemicals in the groundwater. And also around by the mixing machine, the mixers on the side where I stayed, and you said something that hit on a point too. I stay over in that area. My bedroom is right there back Krause. And here's the thing of it is, and as you said, Mr. Jerry Krause owned the property, the old scrapyard.
Mhm.
I asked Mr. Krause, I said, Mr. Krause, could you donate me 100 feet of that land? Or could you sell me 100 feet of land? His thing was exactly what you said. He can't do it because of the DEQ. People say, I can't do nothing with this property, but let it sit here because he can't clean it up or nothing. So Krause is sitting there in the same area as the plant on the backside where all the chemicals are mixing. And it's like say, we had a number of people in the neighborhood who have cancer-related deaths. We had cancer, still some people still with cancer. And as the mayor stated and I said, rest stated, it's gonna take an arm and a leg for to clean that plant up, and we decided to tear it down. Also, and I'm concerned about whoever get this plant. If they get this plant, they're gonna have to come in according to the contract that I looked at, that the city gonna have to do the cleaning up of the property, if anything needs to be cleaned up. So that's another cost expense on the city and to the citizens that we're gonna have to do. And I know it's gonna take a whole lot of money to do that. Now, as I said, we're gonna have to clean up, but I can't see putting a green plant dealing with food and stuff in a plant like that, which is already contaminated. And as you said, this kind of stuff is just like a sponge. And when you get a sponge, you're not gonna get all the soap out of it.
Right.
So how do they figure that over the time all this been dissipated? It's still there. All these chemicals still at the ground. And we're living with it every day.
Yep.
Every day we're living with it.
Right,
Now, like I say, and I tell the board right here, I'm not against economic development. I'm not against fit the job, but I am against the health and welfare of the people in that neighborhood, in that area. That's what I'm concerned about.
So right now, so to answer, and that's all legitimate concerns on that.
That's the only concern that
So
my constituents is dealing with. But like I say, just to come in and I'm just the mayor, just to come in and say, you want to fill a campaign promise? No. And I told the mayor that once before when he was running for office, you can't put anything in there. Now, you're not going to kill us over there.
So one thing about that is that if you're going to go into the building, they've got a big report here that says, here's where
I asked for a
asbestos is.
copy. I never received.
Well, then I will give you one tonight when I get back to
Please
Jackson. Absolutely.
I think
Here's the thing.
I think they need, and I think that needs to be discussed with them as well.
No,
Please ask to be recognized. following our
I'm not through, Mr. Mayor, but he can go on with what he said.
Mr. Hess is actually speaking.
Yes.
Let's let him speak.
So remember, when you're inside the building, well, let me back up. We're doing some additional assessment to see about that soap and the sponge.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's happening here in the next couple of weeks or next a month or so. Now, the way I've tried to describe this, the way you get sick from something that's contaminated, it's much like COVID. And so one thing about it is you have to get close enough to it to breathe it in, or you ingest it, or it has to be dermal contact. And so what EPA has done, or DEQ has done here with this one area on the backside that has contamination, they say you shall not excavate, drill, or other activities that could create exposure to that contaminated media. So in other words, don't go in that area. You can pave it and put trucks on top of it, but being exposed to it is kind of like social distancing is. If you're far enough away from someone who has COVID, that will keep the exposure off of it.
Well, you said the right thing. You can pave it, but when you start paving, you still got to disturb the ground.
Well, so then what you do with that is you monitor the air when you're doing the paving.
So here's another thing that I'm saying.
One at a time.
Here's another thing that from the plans that I got in the mail, we're coming down about behind some people who in that area who've been living there for years. We're coming down the railroad track by there. So they're going.
That's not true.
How come it's not, Mr. Mayor? That's what you told me.
That was a long time ago.
What is a long time ago?
this, if I could, just to correct things, this actually, I believe because of the DEQ findings, we've been working over the last 2 or 3
Well,
years.
why you ain't
with
told me?
engineers.
Come on, Mr. Mayor.
We had a very thorough discussion at an executive session on this a few weeks ago. And everything was made very clear.
No, it wasn't. Mr.
What
Mayor.
I would like to state, if I could, is that the area that has contamination, it is my understanding that that is excluded from this agreement because we want it to continue to be isolated. We don't want any development. We want it to continue to be monitored. And the reason that the phase 2 funded by our Brownfield grant is being done is to see the condition of it now, because it's been some time since it was looked at, and then to continue. And as long as it's in the possession of the city then can apply for grants for cleanup of that contained area. And I don't want anyone misled to think of all the studies, it's my understanding that is the only area of contaminated soil.
So right now, there is in the phase 1 we did, that area is going to be looked at. There are a couple of little floor drains that we've got to look as well. But here's the thing, until you look at it, you don't know what you have. And so here's the thing, Mr. Frazier. The EPA and the DEQ are going to review that work plan, and they're going to say, you need to poke a hole here, you need to poke a hole there. And I'm more than happy to share it with you if you think you want to provide input on that, because that's what the whole thing
No, I'm
is.
gonna go in the plant with you.
Do what now?
I'm gonna go in the plant with y'all. If it's when y'all get ready to come over there.
What do you mean?
I'm just gonna walk through the plant again with you. When y'all get ready to do your assessment again.
Oh, that's as long as you've got your training on HAZWOPER, then that's what here's the thing. Whatever you feel, and Mayor, we'll work through all of those things there. But I think the point being is that we're going to do further assessment in those areas, and a lot of this is going to be, Mayor, as I understand it, and I don't know the agreement with the green company, but they're going to be inside the building, and this is primarily the areas outside, back where the old rail spur was.
And that area is not a part of the.
Right.
But here's the thing of it.
Alderman Frazier.
Here's the thing of it. You said regardless, they got 1 million square feet of storage space in it. Okay. Now, this plant been there since 1931. 31, 39, whatever. Well, anyway, it's been there a long time. As you stated, airborne chemicals, they get in the air. All in that storage area back there, it is contaminated with black soot from the mixing.
Black carbon?
Black carbon.
Okay.
And God knows what else up in there.
So
that's the part if I'm not mistaken, that's the part they talking about using, Mr. Mayor, or they talking about using the whole building?
I don't.
I'm asking Mayor now.
They are discussing a phased approach. Obviously, they aren't going to use an area that's contaminated. And then any area that is used, as has been stated, they have to follow EPA guidelines and DEQ guidelines. Otherwise, they can be facing some severe fines. Yes, any Alderwoman.
I just want to use for a scenario, just within the last 2 months, I've read just some information about a school in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It was contaminated. They closed that school. And it didn't take $1 million. It took hundreds of $millions to get rid or eradicate the asbestos. And they rerouted those children from that school and they closed it completely down. And so to get rid of that, so that it would ensure the safety of the youth that would be attending that school and those living in the surrounding areas of that community. And so
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think, and I believe that they had someone come in to do a renovation and they screwed up. You know, I was telling you about screwing up at the beginning. You got to do your asbestos inspection.
They did.
And then, so they screwed it up and all they did was release all that into the air.
They did.
And so yes. And I hope, as a former regulator, they busted that doggone contractor, because they've done taken what was probably $50,000, I'm just pulling a number out of it, $50,000 job, and now it's millions because
That's right.
they've released all that. So the important thing is you shall notify DEQ. That was that form. You shall make sure you use trained people, which they probably didn't, and you shall send it to the right disposal facility. And if you don't, there's consequences, and the consequences on this is a whole lot of that. And actually, just so you know, y'all approved our contract to oversee for the Fry building the asbestos abatement, and we're going to make sure there's a notification, the right people are doing it. We're going to be out there making sure all that's. We're going to be doing the air monitoring while the abatement's being done, and make sure all that's done right. Because at the end of the day, that one's coming down. In this case, Mr. Frazier, and I guess it's really going to be that company that comes in, what areas are they going to use and what are they going to be disturbing? And if there's asbestos, so be it. As far as the carbon black's concerned, that may simply be a matter of vacuuming it up. I just don't know enough about that because I don't think it has an EPA requirement on the cleanup of it, but that's something they've got to make sure they do.
I understand you, but here's the thing. You say the carbon black. How can they gonna vacuum up when you had workers that worked there for years went in their lungs?
Mhm.
They had people. I talked to some of the people from the union say when they was working, they had some of the workers come in there. They called them in and X-rayed them, and when they X-rayed them, their lungs was black. And then they told them, say, well, you go on home, enjoy yourself, because you ain't got too much more time to live. So I'm saying you could use the backspace. When you use the backspace, all this carbon black and this stuff gonna start shaking and it's getting airborne. So we gonna hire 50 people that work in that plant. And once we hire them 50 people, they subject to contamination themselves and the products.
All I can say is that company has to meet their permits and they have to meet their compliance and they have to do whatever monitoring on that. I'm not here to, I know about the history of the site and the soap and the sponge and the asbestos piece. As far as what they plan to do, I would imagine with an FDA and they're going to be doing some products that's going to be for consumption, they better make sure everything's pretty doggone clean or they ain't gonna get it. But again, and I'm not advocating one way or the other on this thing. I think that the question is, with old contamination, it can be managed. With new operations, there's permits and requirements on that they've got.
All right,
Well, I just
we
wanna say,
are about
Mr.
out
Mayor,
of time.
No, we have a very hard discussion. One more time, I just want to say this to you, Ms. S, before you leave. I appreciate that you come in and giving us some input. And I'll tell Mr. King that you really did an excellent job. But my last and final say so is that on this, each and every individual in here that stay in that area, we have our offsprings who have, I have grown daughters and stuff that's suffering from asthma, suffering from all kinds of different stuff. And we're still dealing with their children, brain seizures and all kinds of stuff. So we still dealing with a problem over there. But like I said, I understand the economics of it. I understand the health part, but the health part to me is the most important thing. And then now people say, why they order by Armstrong argument? But because we stay over there. That's where our bedroom at. Every other alderman, except a few of them, they stay well on the other side of town. They ain't got to worry about it. We stay on this side of town. So we had to worry about it. So again, I want to thank you for giving us a little more insight, and I will be seeing you again.
Yes, thank you, Alderman.
I just want to say this, Mr. Mayor, and this is not throwing shade at anyone, but I feel the voices of the citizens have been silenced tonight. I feel like they're here. They should have the ability to get up and share their information. Because when I look and see the members of Ward 4 and Ward 2 come together, I know what it's about because I was raised in that neighborhood myself. But when I sit and I see Mrs. Bayard Davis over there and what her father went through with the asbestos poisoning that he died from, many young, and I'm not just old, young people lost their lives and have been diagnosed with different kinds of cancers. And so I think the community in that area voice has been silenced, and they need a hearing. So, and it's all of them. They all need to get up and share their story. So we do need to set a date for a hearing where they can come back, because the board needs to hear. Their voice needs to be heard.
Thank you. We do have our rules that we have to follow, but definitely, and as I've said, you know, I'm available anytime.
Well, Mr. Mayor, let me just do this. I want to make a motion
Yeah.
that we have a public hearing, because I know we speak through our minutes.
Mhm.
I want to make a motion that we have a public hearing concerning members of that community, Ward 2 and 4, and others if you want to come in support of, because they're your family and friends and loved ones. And so if you want to come out to that hearing, I make a motion that we have a public hearing for them to come and be able to speak to this board again.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion has been made by Alderwoman Irving, seconded by Alderman Frazier. A discussion of the motion.
I'm ready for the vote.
We'll call
Paul.
for the question. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. And we will look at the calendar and call that public hearing, in
the evening.
at 4.
Thank you.
And we will certainly get that word out. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I do want to say a couple things. I lost my mother to cancer when she was only 60 years old and I was 25. I also lost my stepmother to lung cancer, a woman who never smoked a day in her life. We all have had loved ones, friends, family, who have suffered from cancer. And I have been a part of raising thousands and thousands of dollars for the American Cancer Society. And in fact, just a few years ago, represented Team Natchez, Real Men Wear Pink, national competition. And we raised so much money in Natchez that we were in the top 20 nationwide of over 2,500 competitions. And I think it is egregious that we had a time in this country when factories were allowed to operate in a way that endangered their workers. I want to say today, though, that I celebrate the times that we are in now. So much work has gone on to create programs like the Brownfields Grant Program that we were able to receive, so that communities can go in and have phase 1 and phase 2 assessments and see where we stand with regard to contamination. And I'm also very grateful for leaders who have put in place very rigid standards now that have to be followed with regard to the Department of Environmental Quality at the state level and the Federal Environmental Protection Agency. I am so grateful that any business operating in the city of Natchez or anywhere is subject now to those standards that did not exist years ago. I think it is egregious that we had to lose members of our families to cancer in order to finally see our government, both at the state and federal level, take this issue seriously. This is a new day we're in. And I'm also very grateful that the city of Natchez, even prior to this administration, has been assessing that site, has been isolating the various areas of contamination and taking steps to address that. And I also want to reiterate, as we have said, we will not work with any business that does not consider the safety of our city first. Yes, we are spending tens of thousands of dollars to a private security company, now Dawson Security Company, to provide daily security at this site. And we have just this year, it has been an enormous amount of money. And yes, the city is stuck with this building at the moment because an assessment done by the EPA in 2021 shared that it would cost in excess of $8 million to tear it down. And that because the level of contamination was not such to apply for or qualify for a federal grant. You see, I think there's some misunderstanding as to the level of contamination. It doesn't apply for a federal grant of that size, $8 million. So we either continue to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to a private security company, or we have it sit there, idle and bringing down property values that already is in deplorable condition, just having been vacant for 20 years. It's sad to understand and imagine what it will look like in another 20 years. But if we do have a company willing to create jobs, willing to come in and create a green industry that also safeguards the workers and the environment and understands going in that they have to abide by EPA standards, DEQ standards, or they will be busted, put out of business, and fined thousands of dollars. It's incumbent upon us to consider that if we have someone willing to come in and undertake that burden to bring something that has been dead and dormant for 20 years to a new life. We do need jobs, not at the expense of our health and safety, but if there is a way to create these jobs and a new life for this area and the beautification of Kelly Street, I think that we must consider that. And I ask everyone to please first know that I am concerned, that I care, that I personally nursed my mother for the last 60 days of her life and held her as she breathed her last breaths through gushes from her mouth of blood. I was there. I cleaned it up. I have lived that experience. And so I want you just to know that I take this as seriously as anyone can take it. And that I will not, as long as I'm mayor, stand by and watch any business come in that would be harmful to the lives of our citizens. I just had to say that.
That's a very eloquent speech. Very eloquent.
Thank you, Alderman Frazier. And
But-
Alderman Frazier,
But I'm
my
gonna say,
sympathies to you and your family and others.
I
who
would
have
just like
lost loved
simply
ones.
say, Mr. Mayor, I understand your concern about the economic development, but like you say, about your mother and everybody dying from cancer. We also had our loved ones dying our own bleeding up blood and everything else.
It's a sad thing.
It's just sad that, it's something that was beyond our control at the time that we bought this property over there. We didn't know anything about it.
Yes, it
So
is.
we just fell into this unfortunate situation. But as I stated earlier, it's not so much about the economics. It's about the health and the welfare of the people in that community. Not just not in that surrounding community, but to be honest, it's for the whole city, because
right.
if they tear down that building, this stuff gonna go all over
Oh,
town.
that's why
So
tearing down is not an option. That's right, Alderman Frazier. And I do want to say a heartfelt concern for all who have had to go through such loss. And even those that have recently passed away in our community.
thank you, Mr. Hess.
Mr. Hess, thank you. It's been a very good discussion, and I thank everyone for being here. And we do look forward to that public hearing. And Mr. Hess, we hope that you can be here for that public hearing. Mr. Bradley, thank you for being here and speaking to the board tonight.
Do we know the date? We're looking at a date, or we could be looking at the next board meeting? or-
We have to look at our calendar. We have some, we'll announce that date very soon. It'll be made public. Thank you. We now will return to our department directors' reports. Jody Rudder, Inspection Department, you're recognized.
Good evening, Mayor and Board.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Your approval to accept a quote to replace a tandem compressor set on a unit at Natchez Transit. This includes 2 compressors for the
Mr.
unit.
Rudder, we can't hear you. Can
Do
you
I?
speak into the mic again?
Oh, I'm sorry. I need approval to accept a quote to replace a tandem compressor set on a unit at Natchez Transit. This includes 2 compressors for this unit. The low bid is $15,884.66 from Terry Service. I'm asking for the board to accept this quote. What's your pleasure?
What's the pleasure of the board? Alderwoman
Second.
Hall has made the motion. Alderwoman Irving has seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion?
That's at the new transit building?
Sir?
That's at the new transit building?
That's the new transit building.
The
Yes.
air conditioning gone out?
Well, it's older than you think.
Okay.
We'll call for the question. We'll call for the question. The question has been called. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank
Next item.
I
Mr.
need
Rivera.
approval to accept a quote to replace the water heater for the pool at the senior center. The low
So
bid. Okay.
The low bid being what it is. A motion has been made
$5,871.75.
by Alderwoman Irving, seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion? We'll call for the question. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Order, so we can hear.
Yes, I'm so sorry. We're having trouble hearing. We invite everyone to please remain, but if you do need to have a discussion, please feel free to step outside so that we can conduct our meeting. The next report, I believe that is
That's
all
it for
you
me.
have. Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Mr. James Johnson, you're recognized. Good
Good
evening.
evening.
I laid my report at the respective desks earlier today, and I hope to be brief. Downtown Natchez Farmers Market, the contract of Mr. Eddie Burks, market coordinator, follows the city's fiscal year and expires on September 30th. Staff is requesting a motion.
I need a copy of it.
I-
don't.
Well, I handed you one in the boardroom. Well, I didn't lay another one at your desk.
Somehow didn't make it in my packet.
Sorry.
All right, thank you. We're ready.
All right, again, downtown Natchez Farmers Market, the contract of Mr. Eddie Burks, market coordinator, follows the city's fiscal year and expires on 9/30/23. Staff is requesting a motion to approve a new one-year contract with Mr. Burks, again, with annual compensation of $18,000. Pleasure of the board.
Pleasure of the board.
Second.
Alderwoman Hall made the motion. Alderwoman Irving second. Discussion? I'll call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Construction
Next
of 2 new tennis courts at Duncan Park with 2021 recreation bond issue. A second of utility line from an industry-owned utility pole crosses over the southwest corner of the new tennis courts, which is not allowed. Staff is requesting a motion to allow Entergy to relocate the impacted utility pole and overhead line at a cost of not to exceed $3,591.29.
Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Motion made by Alderwoman Hall, seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion? We'll call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item.
In addition, staff is requesting a motion to approve Stubbs NK Contractors Pay Estimate number 3 totaling $149,150.
Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Alderwoman Hall made the motion. Second
Second.
by Alderman Maroney. Discussion?
Yes.
Yes. Alderwoman Irving.
Okay, the $149,150. That's, you say number 3.
Pay Estimate number 3, yes, ma'am.
That's just a payment that he's receiving because he's done.
Work at the court, yes, ma'am. The board has already approved Pay Estimates 1 and 2 on the docket. This one came a little tardy because of my absence in Alabama last week.
All right, I got it.
Okay. We'll call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item.
Cleaning of illegal dump sites, our solid waste assistance grant, actually parts of 3 grants from DEQ. Quote bids for the cleaning of 2 illegal dump sites were received at 10:00 a.m. on Monday, September 23rd. The illegal dump sites are listed as Itasca Drive, Miscellaneous, and 398 West Deers. A summary is listed below. Staff is requesting a motion to accept the quote bid of Dozer Inc. to clean the miscellaneous illegal dump sites on Itasca Drive, noting that the amount of unobligated funds does not allow us to accept both bids at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Frazier, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderwoman.
Mr. Johnson, you meant September 25th, not 23rd.
Sorry. You're right. My bad.
Okay.
All right, we'll call for the question.
Go.
Mr.
Call. Alderwoman Irving.
I just want to ask, Mr. Johnson a question. You and I spoke earlier. Do you want me to add that or just wait to meet me out at the site?
We'll meet at the site.
Okay.
Yes, and we'll
Thank
keep
you.
it added to
Call
our
for the
list.
question. Now we'll move to the vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item.
Natchez Convention Center 2022 Recreation Center Complex GOB. Staff in concert with consulting architect Wakehouse and Associates are requesting a motion to advertise for the first bid package for the Natchez Convention Center. This package will consist of the renovation of the exhibit hall and include removal of paint from the ductwork and ceiling and new paint throughout. Work will also include new wall coverings to cover the concrete block walls, new door hardware, new carpet, and recovering the large movable walls. The budget range for bid package number 1 is between $400,000 and $600,000.
So moved.
Pleasure of the board. Alderwoman Hall made the motion. Second.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Maroney. It is going to be quite beautiful. I don't know if we have any images that we
I don't
can
have
show.
no.
It won't take but a moment, but this first phase will completely renovate the large exhibit hall. And then to come will be other phases, including the so many architectural details that are being accentuated, added, and even the flooring installed in a portion of the area, and just some nice effects. But this is the proposed look of the renovated exhibit hall.
It's gonna look great.
It's going to be beautiful. Wall coverings, painting, new bathrooms to come
That's what the
in
men's
another
look like.
phase. New paint colors. We're very excited. And we thank Marjorie Feltus Hawkins, who was here earlier,
She was.
but couldn't wait. What's that? I don't think we need to, but we're very excited about the project. The motion has been made. I will call for the question. Question's been called. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item, Mr. Johnson.
Columbarium Walks and Landscape Project in partnership with the Natchez Cemetery Association. Staff in concert with landscape architect Tom Weaver is requesting a motion to extend the date to receive bids for this project from 10 o'clock a.m. on Thursday, October 5th to 11 o'clock a.m. on Thursday, October 19th to enable contractors additional time to review the plans and specs and submit a bid.
So moved.
Second.
Alderman Maroney has made a motion and seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Discussion? We'll call for the question. Question. Alderwoman Irving, you have a question?
No.
All right, we'll proceed to the
Mr. Mayor,
vote.
just to-
Yes,
Yes, I
Alderwoman.
was just gonna say that, I did speak with someone from the Cemetery Association, and they are moving the site from the side of the river to a different site because of potential erosion on that side for the college.
Oh, all right. So with that said, we'll proceed now to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Johnson, next
Done.
item.
Duncan Park Golf Pro Shop renovation, 2021 Rec GOB and 2022 Capital Improvements GOB. Bids for the rebidding of the Duncan Park Golf Pro Shop were received in the clerk's office today, September 26th, 2 o'clock p.m. A summary of the bids received are as follows, and you see how they're listed there. Staff in concert with consulting architect Belinda Stewart Architects is requesting a motion to take the bids under advisement to allow for them to be thoroughly reviewed and a recommendation to be presented at the next regular board meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen.
What's the pleasure of the
So
board?
moved.
Second. Motion made by Alderwoman Hall, seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion? Yes, Alderwoman.
And I do know that this is for the renovation of the pro shop. The entire shop will be renovated.
No, ma'am.
Phase one is the substantial portion of the interior and front exterior historic facade of the golf clubhouse.
Okay.
Yes. And we have approved these plans some time ago, and those plans are available if you need to get another copy.
Just recall memory.
Yeah, they're in the clerk's office. Or I can
We'll
email
call
them
for
to
the
you.
question. We'll proceed. We'll proceed to a vote. I'm sorry, we aren't in a public hearing. Unless you are already on the agenda, we can't acknowledge anyone to speak. I'm so sorry. Those are our rules. We'll proceed now to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. Next item.
Concord Avenue Drainage Improvements Phase 1, House Bill 603, 2023 session of the Mississippi Legislature. Staff is requesting a motion to utilize the services of JKS to provide design phase and construction engineering and inspection services for this drainage project at a cost of $60,000.
So moved.
Second.
Made by Alderwoman Irving, seconded by Alderman Maroney. And I will just say, there will be another item coming next board meeting with regard to West Steers Lane. We are moving forward on both projects, thanks to funding that we received through the Mississippi Legislature to address erosion issues. We'll call for the question. Question has been called. We'll proceed now to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item.
Morgantown Road Drainage and Reconstruction Project, MDEQ, Mississippi Municipality and County Water Infrastructure Grant Program, and local ARPA funds, and county ARPA funds and local funds as well. Bids for the Morgantown Road Drainage and Reconstruction Project were received in the city clerk's office at 10 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday, August 8th. The loan bid received was from Dozer Inc. and totaled $3,329,842.80. Various efforts were made to see if the bid could be accepted and awarded, but those efforts were not successful. Staff is requesting a motion to reject the loan bid received from Dozer LLC and to rebid the drainage project, noting the engineers made changes to design since it was last bid.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Davis, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. I will say that in communication and coordination with the county and their engineer, IMS Engineering, we are hopeful that the third try will be the charm. It has been discouraging that we have raised historic levels of funds for this project, and yet the bids continue to come in too high. But I do look forward to rebidding the project, and let us pray that the third time is successful. This is for phase 2. We are still waiting on MDOT approval for phase 1. Any further discussion? We'll call for the question. Question's been called. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item. Well, Mr. Johnson, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next on the agenda is Mr. Judson Dollar. Mr. Dollar, thank you for your patience with us this evening.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Board.
Good afternoon.
Here before you today, seeking approval for you all to accept the low bids for our 6-month general bid supplies.
Thank you. Second. Motion has been made by Alderwoman Irving, seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion?
Well,
Yes, Alderwoman Irving.
I'm just asking, I see that it has listed a few things here, getting ready for the materials that's going to be used for street overlay. Is that?
For the overlay project?
Yes.
No, we do this, we do yearly bid, general bids, and we do 6-month supplies. 6-month supplies are the ones that are more volatile, that move around. They won't guarantee prices for a year. These are things that we use on a daily basis between us and Natchez Waterworks. So we go ahead and do this so that therefore throughout the year as we need these products, we don't have to bid them at those specific times. We already have that.
I just got excited when I saw hot mix asphalt, and I know we do keep that on hand. I'm aware of that, but okay.
I will ask, is it as much as you were expecting?
What's that?
Is it as much as you were expecting?
What is much?
The cost
On what?
on asphalt.
It's, I think $100 something.
I know we've been worried about prices going up. And I'm just hopeful that it's not going up as much as we expected.
Yeah, $106. It's $107 this past, so it's stayed. It actually went down about.
Actually went down. You know, that's a prayer answered right there.
But there's actually a lot of stipulations that fall within that we have not had in the past.
Yeah. But it's important to note that because we want to make sure we can stay within our budget. We have so far. I want to keep on doing it. And y'all do such a great job. Thank you. I'll call for the question. Question's been called. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. And Mr. Dollar, it's important to note that work is continuing with our street resurfacing project. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that has to take place, but people will be smelling fresh asphalt soon. And that's a good thing. I think the attorney had something he wanted to bring up in advance that was on the agenda. And yes, sir, I'm sorry we aren't able to acknowledge anyone that's not already on the agenda. I'm so sorry. But if you'd like to address the board, you can make a request at my office at any time. We have forms for that purpose.
I didn't want to ask
Thank
you
you.
all this question while I'm secret here.
Thank you. And yes, sir. Thank you. And feel free to call me at the office. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
The next item, Mr. Calloway. Yes, sir.
Just while we, Justin, could you discuss Clifton Avenue with the board and then?
Okay. In regards to Clifton Avenue, and I think this is under the city attorney's report, but you'll see there, I don't have it in front of me, but we received a request from Mr. Charles Jordan for a portion of Clifton Avenue, seeking for it to be abandoned and a portion of it to be shut down. With that, we do have the city has a policy, a street and alley abandonment policy. We have been through that process, working with all the different departments, running to see if there's actually, if they have any issues, if they find any needs for the actual portion that we're looking for. We have received all the responses back. No other departments, that's just Waterworks. Nobody has any issues with this at this particular time. What it is, and I don't have a map to put up here. I do have a map, but not one for the board. But there is a small portion on the, I guess if you come in from the north end of Clifton, if you come around through there, you run into and end into a guardrail. So the road is already closed, of course, from there to the end of Leonard's Mill. So there's already a section that was closed years ago when the bluff stabilization was done. Getting a lot of problems with people pulling up, doing things that, of course, I don't think any of us would want in front of their property or their house. There is no turnaround at that point. So, of course, they're sitting there all hours of the night throughout the day doing things. What he's asked is, can he install a security gate at the edge of his property and close that portion off to remove this even being an option for individuals from a motorist standpoint. Now, as far as pedestrians, sidewalk, all those things, we have been working with the Attorney Calloway to ensure that we keep all of those things in place. All the sidewalks will still be there. We will still have access to bluff stabilization. All of those things will still be in place.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Maroney?
At what point, where does he want to put the gate?
So,
Right.
Are you familiar where the guardrail is now?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it on Google Earth.
all right, he actually owns the empty lot there that does not have a house on it, and then he owns the house right that would be north of that property. So it would actually step back just this side of that, inside of his property line, and the gate would actually be placed across there at that point.
And all the neighbors south of that point are fine with it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out where this is at.
We didn't know.
It's
Going north on Linton. And when you get past the little theater, turning left on Clifton, and then circling around, coming south, And the street now ends, as Mr. Dollar has described, at a certain point, and this would move the closed area a
By the
little
property
further.
of
north.
Ms. Radwood's.
Mhm.
Is where the guardrail currently is for the
Yes.
closure of the street. So you've got that property, then from there you've got the two properties Mr. Jordan owns. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Let-
I want to say, unfortunately, we didn't have you on the agenda to speak, but we would certainly be happy to talk to you if you want to call our office. And you can also fill out a form. We have, as I described earlier, we have a process to request, permission to speak. I'd be happy to meet with you at any time. Yes. Well, we didn't realize there was opposition. So you're welcome to. I don't think we were actually looking for action. We were just wanting
Mr.
to
Mayor,
educate you
Mr. Mayor,
on the.
can we make a
We
motion
can
for
make a
him?
motion.
Make a
If you'd
motion.
like to make a motion.
Make a motion for him, because I need to find out what's going on.
Okay. Okay. Is there one of you who would like to be the spokesperson for you? Okay. Your daughter, and remind me, we need
I
the,
need to make a motion
we
that they
need
be able to,
her
that they be able
name
to
needs
speak.
to be in the motion.
What's your name,
And-
ma'am? I make a motion that Ms. Quinn be able to speak on behalf of the residents of Clifton
All right.
Avenue.
Seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Any discussion? We'll call for the question. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Smith. If you would come to the podium.
Sign your name. Yes. She said,
Yes.
Okay, so like I said, my name is Audra Quinn. This is my mother, Cheryl Peterman, and my sister, April Colbert. The Peterman family has lived there since 1940. And, we do have cars that come down that way, but they're coming to look at the view of the river. The housing, there is no problems whatsoever that we've had. And when the Jordans did move there, she did come speak to my mother and asked her if she could put a gate up, and my mother said no. And she's like, well, I would love to put a gate past your house and just block it off. And my mother, I'm not sure what word she used, but it probably wasn't nice. But she's wanting, so we have a big family. And so we go over to our mother's house all the time, and we would not be able to, turn around. It's not that much room. And, if she wants to put it on her property, with the gate, where the driveway is, that's perfect. But she can't, I don't see how they could just come in. It's been like that when David Hall had that house. We've had different people that have lived there, and nobody's ever complained about it. She told my mother the reason she would like to do it too, so my mother would feel safe. My mom said I am safe. So I just don't see how that they could come in and just, okay, we're going to put a gate up. I wouldn't want it in my neighborhood. And, in my neighborhood, they're going 60 miles an hour down the street, and I would love to put one up, but I'm not going to. So I don't know where we've gone, with this. And we found out today, I was in Baton Rouge, and my mom calls me at 3:00, so upset that this was on the document and nobody came to tell me, And so that's how, and so I rushed home and we got here as soon as we could.
We did not know there was any opposition. It had not been reported to us. Also, I want to say the city attorney had already said today he was only going to make people aware of this and not asking for action tonight. what I would like to do is give you a piece of paper, if you would, write down names and phone numbers for us so that we can look into this more. All right?
May I ask a question?
Certainly.
Go on, Mr. Chairman.
Is this the house on the corner as you turn?
Now, this is the next one, the 2-story. It's 321 Clifton.
Okay.
Because the next one is an Airbnb, and then there's one on the hill. There's a, is the mayor still over there? The mayor. Oh, no. Okay, so, you know, so there is a big community that doesn't have a clue about it. She just approached my mother.
We have to be next door too.
Yeah, we happen to be right next door to her 2 properties.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Quinn.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for coming. Able to come. Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Fraser.
I'm glad y'all came. If we got any kind of opposition, like I said, the city attorney needs to look into this before we do anything. Especially when we talk about dealing with closing a street, and also dealing with people who walk that area, because they walk from one end, they've been walking there for years. So we need to look into this to see the legal. But I'm like I said, we got opposition.
We won't be taking any action.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm very sorry. And also, I apologize. I'm grateful that Alderman Fraser made the motion. In my position, I have to just make sure that we run everything as fairly as possible. And if you haven't noticed, we have not allowed a number of people to speak tonight. And I just always have to follow the rules as fairly as I can. But he did make the motion, and we are glad you were able to speak to us tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Thank you. The next item, and yes, we won't take any action. Thank you. The next item, we will go back now to the city official reports. Alderwoman Paul.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to offer my condolences to Ms. Fontaine on the death of her aunt, who was also a descendant of U.S. colored troops, or several U.S. colored troops. I offer my condolences to you. Offer my condolences to Alderman Davis on the death of his niece, and to his family. And I welcome Alderman Maroney back on the safe surgery. So that ends my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Alderman Fraser.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, mine be quick. I just want to again reiterate, I want to thank Mr. Hess for being here, giving us a little more insight on what we can and what we can't do with that plan. Also this weekend, I attended an event with one of the candidates that are running for governor. Brandon came and he spoke at the on Martin Luther King. It was very informative, and like I say, just to hear his views on things. So that was about it, Mr. Mayor. End of my report.
All right. Thank you so much. Alderwoman Irving, your report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I want to share that I also attended that event for the Democratic candidate for governor, Brandon Presley. Very impressive event, upbeat, motivating, inspired to see what the future holds for him as being a candidate for that position. And that's all that I have, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Alderman Davis.
I'd like to thank everybody for all the condolences. My family really appreciate everything, everybody, all the cards and the calls, and we appreciate everything. I want to thank everybody for just want to thank everybody. That ends my report.
Amen.
Thank you. We are so sorry for your loss, Alderman Davis. Alderman Maroney.
I just want to say it's glad to be back. I want to apologize for missing our last Board of Aldermen meeting when I was in the doctor's office and they offered me dates to have my hip replacement surgery. I said, just whenever's the soonest. And it turned out to be Tuesday, September 12th. And I said, yeah, that's fine. Before I realized on my drive back to Natchez that we had an alderman's meeting that day. I called them as soon as I got back to try and reschedule it because they had offered me the next day, Wednesday as well. And it was too late already. I couldn't get it moved. And I needed to have it. And, my hip went downhill rapidly in that last few weeks. And, I'm going to have some new parts and they're starting to work pretty good. I'm thankful for that. And I apologize for missing that meeting.
We're just, Alderman Lee Majors, we're glad you're back.
The bottom, man, if I start running in circles, somebody catch me.
Could I just say, make a comment?
Yeah.
You're doing superb.
It's amazing.
And it is so great to see that. I mean, 2 weeks.
Thank you, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It's amazing.
Wow,
It
that
really
is truly amazing. It's a
Miracle,
blessing.
miracle of modern medicine. I was actually on the table 32 minutes.
Really?
32 minutes it took.
They're making
Yeah.
advances every day.
Modern medicine doesn't.
Thank you. We are going to go to the city clerk's report. Denise Bell is here, representing Megan McKenzie, who is in attendance at a SHRM conference, Society of Human Resource Managers, along with Caroline Deason.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
before I forget, I mean, I'm sure you want to, and it did slip my mind.
Yes.
The Hiram's Revel event celebration of birthday, which is going to be September 30th. Okay, this weekend at
1 p.m.
At 1 p.m. So,
Where's that?
so yes, Zion Chapel.
Yes. Thank
Zion Chapel Church. So inviting everyone to please come out and attend the birthday celebration of Hiram Rebels at Zion Chapel Church at 1 p.m. on Saturday.
Unveiling a
September 30th.
new bus that has been specially sculpted. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Now we're back to the Chief Deputy Clerk.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We asked for approval of the second September 2023 claims docket.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Hall, seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion. Call for the question.
Call.
We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Next item.
Yes, approval of the second September 2023 mini claims docket.
The pledge.
Second.
Alderman Hall made the motion, seconded by Alderman Davis. Discussion.
Yes.
Yes, Alderwoman Irving.
Claim number 202853, yoga studio advertising. Was that an ad or something we took out?
Yes, it was an advertisement, and it was a very good event that we had worked with them for several months, bringing a number of out-of-town people, most of whom had never been to Natchez. A very good event, and we were able to advertise with them during the promotion of that event.
Right.
Any further questions? All right, we'll call the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
That's the end of my
Next
report, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Yes, we've already taken care of Trinity Capital. My report will be very brief. We've already heard from Mr. Hess. If you'll recall, sadly, Mr. Bill Ennis passed away at the end of June, who had been serving just recently, made the co-chairman of our city's planning commission, preservation commission. And Mr. Bill Ennis and Mr. Dan Clark moved here from Bastrop, Texas, a few years ago, and both of them stole our hearts and have become so involved in our community. And with the passing of Mr. Bill Ennis, Mr. Clark has expressed interest to fill the vacated seat occupied by Mr. Ennis. And at this time, I'd like, and I think his resume has been shared with everyone a couple times. And so we'll now entertain a motion.
Second.
A motion made by Alderwoman Hall and seconded by Alderwoman Irving. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderwoman Irving.
I just want to say I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Enos myself, and such a wonderful person to meet and greet, and you know, just come in, become a Natcholzian.
Yeah.
That's what he chose to do. But such a great constituent to have, someone who was excited about being in Natchez and wanting to work with the citizens and make improvements to our city planning commission.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we already miss him. We
Yes.
do, but we're very grateful that Mr. Clark has such a robust resume of experience and willing to serve our city. I'll call for the question. Question's been called. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Miscellaneous updates. I do want to let everyone know, first of all, I have to echo it. Ms. Fontaine, we're so glad to see you here. And it was a pleasure to be at the service honoring your aunt on Sunday. Mother Laura Lane Hammett, who happens to be the mother of Bishop Hammett here in our community, and so many others who are direct children or descendants, and so our sympathies. And also Alderman Davis, I was out of town when I got the news. I'm so sorry about your niece, and I have to echo that. We've already welcomed the bionic alderman back to the meeting. I've got to give a couple of reports briefly. I always report on the trips that we take, and just recently I was able to attend the meeting of the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative in Bemidji, Minnesota. It was an amazing meeting, and it was held at a city that is known as the first on the river because it is just south of the headwaters where the Mississippi River begins. And attending that meeting was also the mayor of the last city, Belinda Constant of Gretna, Louisiana. Also mayors from the mayor of Baton Rouge, not only Natchez represented, but Vicksburg, George Flaggs, Greenville, Eric Simmons, Memphis, Jim Strickland, and so many others. It's just hard to name them all. What was very interesting about this conference, we always meet such great people, and it's through these conferences that we make so many good contacts. But this conference actually was held, a part of it, at the Assembly building of the Red Lake Nation. And the chief of the Red Lake Nation was there, along with representatives of other Native American nations who were in that vicinity, who actually enjoyed and controlled the headwaters of the Mississippi River before European settlement. And they shared their passion for the river as being the source of life, and that water is life. And so it was there that the organization and our leaders on behalf of the association signed a pact with the three nations from that area to honor their legacy of commitment to clean water and to do all we can to fight against pollution, to fight against the polluting of the waters of the Mississippi River, and also to fight against the dangerous diversion of waters from that river to other locations. The waters of the Mississippi River belong to the cities and the towns and villages and people who inhabit the areas along that river. Also, in addition to signing that pact, we had a lot of meetings from everyone from Department of Interior to other federal agencies on down. I wish I had pictures to show, but it was exciting also to visit with American Cruise Lines, American Queen, and Viking. All three were in attendance, all three continuing to express their love for Natchez. And American Queen, very significantly, expressing a desire to work with Natchez on future developments under the hill and along the corridor between Silver Street and Water Street. And these are items that are being looked at possibly for future consideration. But some discussions were started at this meeting 2 weeks ago. Also very exciting, there are other things I could share, but very exciting. It appears that the group unanimously would like to return to Natchez for the celebration of our nation's 250th birthday and celebrate their 2026 conference here in Natchez, 10 years exactly after last being here in 2016 when they were co-hosted by mayors Darrell Grinnell and Butch Brown. And so great meeting, and also congratulations to George Flaggs, who now will succeed Eric Simmons, who has just stepped down as co-chair of the organization. And George Flaggs will now serve as one of the two leaders of the organization. I don't have the name of the other mayor from somewhere way up north on the river, from a larger city. I also want to report on a very successful conference with the Mississippi Association of Self-Insurers last week in Biloxi. I attended along with Caroline Deason and Megan McKenzie. Many great classes and sessions on insurance matters, health insurance matters, and also political matters. One of the most informative sessions was Insurance Commissioner Mike Cheney, who shared information about the state health plan and all of the challenges we are facing with regard to medical care in our state. It was also at that meeting that we first learned of the governor's new medical proposal, and we're still looking into that. But we want to say we need more than ever to support Natchez and our local hospital and the furtherance of medical industry in our community. But also at that event, a very important meeting with Commissioner Cheney led to an opportunity to visit today with Mr. Brad Smith, who is in the commissioner's office and deals with grants for fire trucks. And we started a conversation that now Chief Arrington is following through on with the county. There is a grant program available to municipalities. It is administered through counties or to cities with permission of the county. Adams County has not taken advantage of this grant program since 1999. And there's $90,000 there to help go toward a purchase and could even be used as a match for another grant for our new pumper truck. And so we had this conversation today. Chief Arrington is working through that, and Alderman Davis, I haven't even had time to tell you about it, but I hope that it'll lead to something positive. When we go to these conferences, it's a time for work, and I don't want to ever come home without something solid to show for it. So just wanted to share that. We do have an executive session tonight. We unfortunately have several matters to discuss. Mr. Callaway, would you like to state those items, and we'll have a motion to go into a closed determination?
I think first we need a motion for closed determination to discuss whether we go back.
Okay. All right. A motion has been made by Alderman Davis to go into a closed determination. We will then come back and report before taking any further action. The motion has been seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Any discussion? We'll then call for the question. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. We will come back. We will ask Lee, if you'll just stay here, we won't be long, and then we'll take care of the other motion while the camera's rolling. But then at that point, we'll go on into our executive session. Thank you so much. All right, we are back from our closed determination. I will entertain a motion to adjourn the closed determination meeting and return to regular meeting.
So move.
Motion
Second.
made by Alderman Davis, seconded by Alderwoman Irving. We will have discussion. We'll call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. We do have a report of the closed determination.
We did. Mayor, members of the board, we met in a closed determination and discussed matters that need to be addressed in an executive session. Those are employee and performance matters, possible disciplinary at the police department. So those have to be handled in executive session. And we need to discuss settlement negotiation and litigation strategy in the Titan Tower litigation, which is also appropriate for executive session.
Yes, and we also have to discuss employees, their performance, and rate of remuneration for certain positions.
But,
I wanted to make sure we add that.
there we
So
go.
those are three items.
Three items.
All right, well, that's our report. I will entertain a motion to go into an executive session for the purposes that have been so described.
So move.
Motion made by Alderwoman Irving, seconded by Alderwoman Hall. Discussion. Call for the question. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you.